Hello! Welcome to another episode of Are You Serious? I'm your host, John. Today I want to talk about the insidious left-wing culture theft that happens with pretty much every aspect of life, where something starts out as being like a hobby, a fun group, a cool thing to do, and it slowly becomes political, and it becomes forced that everyone has to follow left-wing ideas and concepts, and you really don't get to be anything else but left-wing once they take over the group. How that really works, we see that with a lot of stuff. I mean, honestly, I'd say you see it with the LGBT community. The LGBT community has gotten so ingrained in left-wing politics, which, if you want to be left-wing, feel free. But, we talk about tolerance and diversity and all those other things up until someone says, oh, I don't agree with you on your opinion that's left-wing. And then when you're not giving the exact same response that you heard at a Biden rally, all of a sudden, oh, what are you, a Nazi, KKK, white supremacist, all these insane things come out if you happen to be right of Bernie Sanders, which is silly. But what's worse, well, who knows what's exactly worse, but what's also worse is that even places where you just try to relax and have fun, like gaming, computer games, board games, video games, movies, theater, art, left-wing culture gets in, it takes a hold, and it tries to steal the whole group away from all the people who've been playing it and doing it for decades, and decades upon decades in many instances. We've seen this happen in so many areas where they infiltrate it. First, they see a group of people, which, given the fact that America was majority white, we have groups that are white, we have groups that are white men, cis white men playing things like Dungeons and Dragons, playing games like Nintendo. Now, that doesn't mean that they're trying to make that a group where it's only those people. And in fact, the reason why those types of groups that were dominated by cis white men have become not is because there was never anyone saying you can't play it. Everyone has always been welcome to come play these games. You're always welcome to come buy a Nintendo, pick up the controller, and join in. PlayStation, Xbox, Dungeons and Dragons, card games, board games. Most people want more players. I've been a lifelong gamer myself. I've never, ever experienced a situation where someone said, oh, you can't play because you're a girl, or you can't play because of your skin color, or you can't play because you're trans. In a small southern state, homosexual, transgender, people of every race and creed, women, and this was like going on maybe like 15 years ago, we're all welcome to play games. So the idea that, there's this evil cis white men group that was trying to dominate games and kick everyone out is just not true. And what I want to go into is a very specific case that stuck out to me as just one of the most horrible things I've ever heard about. And the way things were spun and the way that literally the whole game was just taken over by left-wing politics was disgusting. So Magic the Gathering. I've played Magic the Gathering since I was a teenager. So it's been a very long time, even though I look young. Played it for a very long time, love the game. It's a wonderful fantasy game. It's a very diverse game. When you look at the cards, the concepts, the players, it is not a game that in any way discriminates. It has always been a wonderful game, and the level of intelligence that's been put into it is something that's wonderful. And I'll never hate it, even though they've made some, in my opinion, poor decisions lately. So what happened was there was a disagreement when an artist that had been with the group, been with Magic the Gathering, making very stunning artwork for a very long time, when it came out that they had opinions that were not left-wing about transgender people. And specifically the TERF debate that comes around, which I'm going to do another video about. J.K. Rowling got involved in it. Now, if you listen to a lot of the people that are being labeled as TERFs and being kind of demonized, majority of what they say is more so that they want to make sure there's some sort of protection still being granted to women, that you don't have someone who is a predator take advantage of a situation in a way that would hurt women. That is what I have always heard from people that get labeled TERFs. And it gets exaggerated into what you hear about where they don't want transgender people to exist, that they try to remove transgender people. That's not really what people who are TERFs generally say. Every argument I've heard from a TERF to date has primarily been about protection of women and protection of spaces that contain women, and it has nothing to do with attacking a trans person. So an artist, and to be honest, to date, I've struggled to find what even that artist originally said, because it actually steamrolled so crazy after the fact that people were attributing quotes to the artist that weren't even true. It was kind of hard to get honest information about it because of how political everyone made the situation. But to re-summarize, so a professional player who was transgender, Autumn Burchett, had a problem with an artist who was being called a TERF. I don't know to what degree that's even true. I've struggled to find what made her a TERF, to be honest. So this could be entirely made up. I have no idea. I didn't see much besides just her being called a TERF and protection for Autumn when I tried to look up any information on it. And the artist, I may butcher the name, Terese Nielsen, and she's, again, an amazing artist. Her art sells, as far as I'm aware, some of the most in the company at Magic the Gathering. Her art resells. It's amazing art, wonderful artist, and you see some of the new picks they make with art, not the greatest. She does really good stuff. So how this went was that, I guess there was a little bit of back and forth, but then Autumn Burchett decided to go to a professional, Magic the Gathering tournament, which is supposed to be, like I said, it's supposed to be a little professional. You're supposed to be there, good sportsmanship, kind to everyone else. It's not a political event. These have never been political events. You're playing a game about wizards and fairies and dragons and monsters. You're not there to talk about Trump or that kind of stuff. So what she does is she takes cards and she starts putting on those cards, writing on them different, kind of weird trans rally cries, talking about how, they're going to get rid of TERFs and all this kind of stuff on her cards. And it was just really inappropriate. It was supposed to be a professional tournament. You can win prize money. Sometimes the prize money is quite high. And she's playing with these cards, intentionally provoking political conversations, calling people TERFs, getting people to start fights, trying to start a fight in the tournament by having these cards with political message. So Wizards of the Coast tells her, that you can't do that. It was ruled that she needed to, she couldn't use cards that had things written on them, which is in the rules. It's not supposed to be that way. Well, so then guess what Autumn does, and everyone else who likes to come and dominate other people's spaces so no one else can have an opinion but yours. They go online and they claim that Wizards of the Coast is telling Autumn that she can't be trans, that she's not allowed to be trans, and they're taking all of her, they're taking down all of her trans rights comments from her cards, saying that she can't be trans. All the articles you look up get twisted so insanely, trying to make Autumn some kind of victim, when Autumn went to the event trying to start trouble by drawing on her cards, starting problems with people, breaking the rules of the tournaments. Utterly ridiculous. And when you look at all the videos that people have, people don't want to be the one to call out the trans person that wanted to start fights with everybody, because they know they're gonna, for the most part, lose and get canceled. And then, well, what happened to the artist that was with the company for, I want to say, well over 10 years, probably 20 years or more? She got fired. She was let go because of this left-wing cancel mob calling her a TERF, which, as I said, from what I could see, I couldn't even find anything attributed to her that actually she had said. People just kept making it bigger and crazier and snowballing this hatred for this artist that I literally couldn't even find it on the internet. If she did say something that was just wildly inappropriate, I mean, to end a 20-year career for one pro player that, as far as I'm aware, she wasn't even in the scene for very long, is crazy on the basis of left-wing politics. To make things worse, people said, okay, well, so we're allowed to write, political statements on cards at tournaments. So people wrote Trump 2020, MAGA. That's fair, correct? Because we just let Autumn Burchett do that with her politics and start fights with people. That's fair, right? No. In fact, it was ruled that's not okay, because we don't allow hate speech on our cards. We don't allow hate speech, but she's talking about, Autumn was talking about on her cards, starting fights with people, getting rid of TERFs, that kind of thing. That's fine. She can go and write all these insane political gibberish on her cards, but you can't write the slogan of someone who was president of the United States. because that's hate speech. And since then, it's just evolved into the most ridiculous. You know, Wizard of the Coast wanted to make sure they didn't get in trouble, so they added a character that looks like her in the game. They've gone through this whole, you know, trans walk of shame from Game of Thrones, you know, because they didn't want to come off as transphobic. And that's insane. You know, the player base of Wizards of the Coast, of Magic the Gathering, the ones that made them famous, don't care about this kind of stuff. The woke mobs don't care, and they don't care about you, and they don't care about anyone else. They care about their selfish little opinions, and they go and they ruin everything they touch. And that's what they do. And they did that with Magic the Gathering, because what they officially successfully did was they got Magic the Gathering to in certain ways say, you will not be able to have a professional relationship with us unless you obey left-wing politics and you follow to the T what you're told to say. And that's fascism. That is fascism. I don't care what your opinion on Trump is, like him or dislike him, Biden, transgender people. It is fascism to try to force your beliefs, your political beliefs on other people and not let them have any kind of their own opinion. It's insane. And in something like a game, and we do this with games, theater, the entire LGBT community, where they demonize any gay person who isn't step in line with being whatever Biden says. We all have to just start just giving them a good handshake. So I'm gonna wrap it up, because I could start, you know, complaining about this all day long. But that's what happens in pretty much every industry. Left-wing people come in, they play the victim, they write all these articles, oh, poor me, while they're getting everyone else fired and starting fights, and they won't even allow the people that oppose them to say something. They can't even talk. You can't have another opinion. You can only have them. All right, well, thanks for listening to my rant. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm your host, John, and have a great night.